Well, good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take for a Monday morning. And what a great weekend we had. We had the draft. We'll review a little bit of that. We talked about that on Friday. But interesting couple of days going in towards the weekend, as a matter of fact. We did see volumes come back a little bit, but we still had some pretty interesting trade along the way. We said on Friday, for instance, from bell to bell, we had strength. And within that strength, what was really powering things? Well, it was retail. It was also home builders. You look at the home builders, and a lot of people seem to have missed this whole part of the piece of the puzzle. But the home builders were absolutely flying. D.R. Horton, Lennar, Pulte, Toll, and those suppliers as well that are part of that whole thing. And if you want to roll in Home Depot, Lowe's, those types of names as well. So really, really a powerful move there. But the retail, that really stood out from the beginning. We talked about that on Friday, and we were talking about retail. I said Target, McDonald's, Lowe's, Home Depot, Costco, Best Buy. Those names absolutely powering this market to the upside and had a very strong move. And we finished up around 260 points. And a lot of that really pushed by a lot of these various names. Now, you look at the VIX trading at about 36 and pulling back pretty significantly on Friday. That was something that was pretty interesting as well, because we've been talking about the VIX. We've been talking about how it was holding into that area. And let's call it 39 to 43, 44, somewhere in there. It found a bit of a base, and that was the trading range. Well, we may have started to move down to the next trading range, and that could be a very big positive thing for us. Now, everybody's focused right now on the narrowness of the move in the S&P. Fully understand, because there are names and a very small group of names that have been powering the S&P. But let's not forget about some of the other areas of the market that have at least pulled up in some of that rotation that makes a little sense in terms of how this market really has been working its way towards the upside and churning at times and then moving to the next step and to the next step. And that's something in the recovery phase, as some folks are calling it, something like that. So you really want to see what powered things late in the day. It was Facebook and Apple. And Facebook, obviously, with that news about attacks on Zoom and what they are in terms of the competition. We talk about Facebook all the time, the verticals that Facebook has got. Now, everybody wants to focus on Facebook. It's no longer and has not been about Facebook. Facebook, certainly the big force of Facebook. There's also Instagram. There's WhatsApp. There's Messenger. There's all of the various. They have made 72 acquisitions as a publicly traded company. This is a company that continues to push AR, different areas of the marketplace. Well, now they were talking about their version of a competition towards Zoom. Now it would be smaller rooms and blah, 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 all those kind of things. But regardless, that affected Zoom and certainly gave a nice boost to Facebook as well. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we started to see those volumes, as I said, they kind of eased back a little bit. What were some of those numbers? We averaged about 24.5 million contracts per day on those 3 days of last week. That's about 2 million per day under the April average and about 3 million under the year-to-date average. So it gives you a little perspective of we've had these moves where we were low volumes, then we had some higher volumes, and now it looks like a little bit of swing towards the lower volumes. However, today we are starting out really strong on the option side of things. But let's go back to where did we start in the market. So in the pre-market, we looked like we were going to be up about 240, maybe 260 points. That seemed to disappear quickly, and we actually opened up something over 100 plus odd points. We moved around a little bit, and we continue to move. Now we're starting to power back up again. Now we're a little bit over an hour into the trading session, and right now, during this trading session, we are very close to what those highs would be, about 1% on the Dow. I'm just looking right now, about 1% on the NASDAQ, 1% on the S&P. That dislocation is no longer there. It's not just the technology names or the semiconductors. And oh, by the way, these semiconductors continue to be a very incredible space. As a matter of fact, when we look at what's going on in the unusual option activity today, we've got a lot of different pieces of the puzzle in that space, in the semiconductor space. We had some last week as well. Some of them have panned out already. Some of them we're still waiting on. So we are seeing a lot more. Now, last week when we saw the semiconductor paper, we were looking at stuff that was going out June, August, those kind of names, or that kind of distance. Now, what are we looking at? We're looking at May 1st. It's May 1st, May 1st, May 1st. Almost every single unusual option activity that I'm seeing today is actually occurring with a May 1st expiration cycle. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. So that's telling you that people are looking extremely short term, not quite as comfortable in the longer term, except with the exception of last week with Intel and Marvell and some of the other names that actually hit. Now, oil, that's been a story day in and day out. We all know about it. We know that it went negative and all this different type of thing. But just know this, after that big move to the upside last week, once we got to the next contract, the June contract, today we are seeing a pretty significant slide again to the downside, down about 27%. Doesn't seem to be a huge effect on the markets themselves right now, but what's really powering the markets? I'm looking at the financials. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, look at PayPal. Just the explosive run from PayPal. It is very near the 52-week all-time highs right now. I think the all-time highs were close to 125. Here we today got up through 120. So really an impressive name in that space, and we've been talking about it for a long time. The acquisition of Venmo. It's a really, really interesting quality name, I think, that we've been trying to point out for a long period of time. Again, it's retail. It's Home Depot, it's Ross Stores, it's Target, Costco, Best Buy. You get the idea, Lowe's. Those names are also, but then throw in the semiconductors and it makes the whole picture a little bit brighter and you could start to see a little bit more. Look at Tesla on the run today as well, just sprinting to the upside. So yes, we talk about some of the bigger names, the big balance sheet names and all the rest of that, but then the next tier names, those are actually performing very nicely as well. So we like to talk about unusual option activity all the time here. So I'm going to give you this one. We talked about retail. How about a little company named Lululemon? Now, I've been owning this stock for an extremely long period of time. A lot of people, when I first got into it, well under $100 a share, wow, that thing's overpriced. No, the growth and the category strength that they've got, that just seems to continue. And they've taken shots from all the big boys. They continue to move through and continue to impress. And that's really what Lululemon, that's the story about that company. When I go out to the Mall of America, when it was open, the expansion of that store and the space that they take up now, it's absolutely amazing. And they are growing internationally as well. They are moving over towards the Asian markets, probably not impacted as much because they're very early in that process. But take a look at that name today. When it was trading about 218, we had buyers of the May 1st, again, May 1st, the May 1st 230 calls. Average price call at about $1.25. About 3,300 of those were bought. The stock's already up and through 220. So it's moving to the upside. Obviously, that's moving those options, especially because they are a very short-term option. So a lot of factors moving there. Not saying that's going to continue. Not saying it's going to ever get anything close to 230, but that's the unusual option activity today that we are seeing in Lulu. And again, it's playing with that whole theme of very, very short term, and that's been the focus for a while. Now, we talked about the draft on Friday, had a little bit of fun with that. Had some, we had our top 5 stocks. We had our top 5 players, the can't miss, the long shots, all those different kind of things. Had a little bit of fun. I'm now going to give you my fully biased, I'm telling you ahead of time, my fully biased take on the draft. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's a combination of the draft and what they did in the offseason. So what did they do in the offseason? Well, they added Tom Brady. Yes, he's older, but added Tom Brady. Moved in along as well just to give him a little bit of comfort. We got Rob Gronkowski joining him down there at tight end. They already got a heck of a tight end down there, OJ. But so add those guys together, and then you go out and you get a guy named Tyler Johnson. Might not have heard of him. You probably should have. University of Minnesota. This kid is a baller. Big, strong-bodied wide receiver that has deceptive speed, but he has great hands and he'll go up and get the ball. It's really, really fun to watch him. Also, their first pick in the draft that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had was this monstrous mauling tackle from Iowa who is an absolute beast and an athlete. Add in a free safety named Antoine Winfield. Khalil Davis from Nebraska at nose tackle. They really went Big Ten. They continue to have very Big Ten presence on the Tampa Bay Buccaneer roster, but especially over the weekend. Great to see two of my Golden Gophers go out there as well. So congrats, guys, for getting drafted out there. I know you're going to enjoy it. We had a lot of Gophers go in the draft this year. Not as many as Alabama and LSU, but we had 5, and it was really exciting to watch these guys. Life-changing events for a lot of these different people all over the country. Congrats to all of them. Folks, have a great day of trading. Understand the options world. It's where growth is. So understand the derivatives world. Understand how you can reduce risk and still give yourself opportunities and use options in a variety of different ways. Folks, have a great day of trading.